So throughout The Sopranos, Tony and his glorified crew do a lot of A-ing and O-ing.
Hey. Oh, howdy.
They also do a whole lot of unaliving. There are a few characters in particular that rack up a surprisingly high body count while staying out of prison for the duration of the show. For example, Christopher has 8, tied for the most on-screen murders in the show, and never really came close to getting caught for any of them. This can mostly be blamed on the baffling ignorance of law enforcement. I understand this is a TV show, but with how much they harp on DNA evidence being so dangerous, people are still getting shot broad day on a busy street fairly regularly. This gave me the idea for today's video, as I'm going to be ranking the top hitmen in The Sopranos not based on the amount of kills that they get, but more so based on the amount of kills I think they could have gotten away with and how I feel they actually performed during their hits. Also, I want to preface by saying I think just about every on-screen kill in the show has multiple ways for the person doing the crime to get caught, so I'm taking all of these with a grain of salt, and there will be a lot of probablys in today's video. When I say top hitmen, I'm referring to the 5 wise guys on this graphic here. Like I said earlier, this ranking isn't based on body count, as the order of this graphic would pretty much just be the list. It's also not going to be based on how high profile their hits were, as that was rarely their choice. Alright, that's enough yapping about that. Let's get started off with number 5. So number 5 on this list, unfortunately, is going to be Paulie. He's one of my favorite characters. He has 3 kills that I think he had a good chance of getting away with, which is tied with 2 of the guys I ranked higher than him. I put him this low because he had 8 kills overall, and that would mean he's getting caught for over half of them. I'll start with the 3 good ones. The Mikey Palmisi hit was actually pretty smart. They followed him on his jogging route deep through the woods, and then chased him even deeper into the woods to kill him in a very secluded area. It doesn't seem like him or Chris left any DNA as long as they properly got rid of the guns that they used. Valerie is probably fine as well, but we don't even really know if he dies. He's shot in the head by Paulie while trying to escape through the woods, but we see him keep running after he gets hit, so it's left pretty ambiguous. If I'm being honest, I don't think there's any way anybody could survive that, so I'll give it to Paulie here. Also, the drug dealer he domes in season 1 is probably fine too. It seems like they do a decent job and get the job done pretty clean as long as they hid their faces coming in. Now, onto Paulie's fuck-ups because they are actually monumental. Min Matrone, though she definitely had it coming, and the waiter Raul were so fucking stupid, they didn't need to happen, and they both would have got him locked the fuck up. Min is fairly obvious, she's in a goddamn nursing home first of all, and he strangles her to death, so getting DNA would be a cakewalk for the FBI. Also, I highly doubt no staff member or anybody was close enough to hear her wailing. With the waiter, Chris leaves the rock that he clocked the guy with behind, probably crawling with his DNA, so all that would have to happen for Paulie to be implicated is someone answering a seemingly innocent question about who left with who that night. Also, the 2 Colombians are definitely getting pinned on him, cause, again, DNA. I mean, they get into a brawl, and Paulie practically lies across one of them to stab him in the chest, and there's literally DNA splattered all over the room from just about everybody involved in the fight. Number 4 may surprise you because, like Paulie, he has a ton of hits under his belt, although he's only slightly less sloppy. Number 4 is Tony Soprano himself. Again, I'll start with the ones I think he had a decent chance of getting away with. Tony B is good, and a pretty easy one, since when Tony found him, he was already isolated and hiding. Matthew Drinkwater is probably okay, since the witness recanted, and they took care of Big Pussy in also a pretty smart way, assuming they cleaned up the boat well enough. I will say, however, with Big Pussy's murder, I think law enforcement would have tried a lot harder to solve it, or at least press the guys a lot harder than they did. Ralph's murder, despite the messy fight, is probably pretty safe, since we actually see him and Chrissy cleaning up fairly well. The last one that might be okay was Chrissy himself. I'm not a doctor, but I feel like there would have been a way to tell that he was suffocated, even in, like 2006? Since I'm not a doctor though, and I can't say for sure, I'll give Tony the benefit of the doubt on this one. So that leaves old Tony with 5, which is actually higher than some of those above him, but his fuck-ups are really pretty egregious. First of all, Chucky Signori. This is just the worst. Ignoring the whole pointless fish thing, the stupid fucking fish, and it being clear that James has never fired a gun before, there is a literal bridge full of passing cars right behind Tony, broad day, as he guns this man down on his boat. Yeah, the police would be waiting by the time he gets back to the shore. Fabian Petrulio is also getting him caught for DNA. As you'll see later, I'm truly trying to give the benefit of the doubt with the whole DNA thing, or this video would just be a black screen with white text that says DNA. Even just taking the small measure of wearing gloves will be greatly rewarded on this list, but Tony can't even do this. On top of all that, Tony signed into numerous motels and hotels and used his vehicle to take the trip with his daughter in the first place, so the cops even know the first person's DNA that they need to test for a match. Oh, and Willie Overall, I'm not really going to mention since that took place before the show and he actually does almost get caught for this one anyway. Number 3 is Silvio Dante. He only has 4 kills, but 3 of them are very well done, and the only one that is questionable is Jimmy Altieri. They do it in like a brothel or hotel or something, and they leave him displayed publicly with a rat in his mouth as a message. Now, this is not the 1920s or Prohibition, so I'd bet any sort of public display like this would get anybody caught fairly quickly, or at least heavily investigated. Without that dramatization aspect, the hit was pretty clean. If it was a brothel, they could have easily paid people off. It's not a for sure thing, and it's still fairly sloppy in my opinion, but I think that there's a realistic chance it could have worked out minus the public display. Pussy I already discussed, and Adriana was out in the woods similar to Palmisi. Bert Gervaisi was probably okay too, since he did it in Bert's own house, something I think is very prudent for this sort of thing. Silvio is also just super loyal and one of my favorite characters, so I might be a little biased, but if I had to pick a hitman, it would probably be him. Coming in at number 2 is going to be Tony Blendetto.
Boy, are you fat.
What'd you say?
He has the least amount of kills on this list, but I think he has a medium to high chance of getting away with all of them. Joey Peeps and his Gumar were pretty straightforward. He did it alone and killed the only other person that managed to see his face, the girl, and seemingly limped off just fine. I personally think he should have done a better job at avoiding being seen with the limp after the fact, though. Even if he didn't know anybody saw him during, it's still an identifiable characteristic that he should have been much more cautious of, especially since the other mobsters are a different story than the cops, since they don't have the same burden of proof to follow. Also, Billy Leotardo was clean. It was done in a decently secluded area, and even though he didn't kill Phil, we know Philly would never rat, but again, this kill got him in a lot of trouble with the mob, and he did choose to take it. He was not ordered. He might be my number 1 if he used his murderous talents for something actually smart and thought out. Number 1, as you may have guessed by now, is Chrissy. He's my favorite character in the show, and he's tied for the most on-screen kills with 8. I'd say 6 of them went fairly well. Emil is fine, besides his paranoia and when he disposes of the body twice. Obviously a risk, but hey, it's good practice. I think as long as they bury somebody right and in a good spot, it's a decent method for these fellas. Like I mentioned earlier, Mikey's was pretty smart, and Gismonti and Renzi are certainly self-defense. Sorelli is fine too, but it is a little bit out in the open. If I was Chris, I would have taken him somewhere else. This would also allow Chris time to dispose of the body and just disappear the guy. Detective Hadis's murder is probably clean since Chris is in his house, which like I said earlier, I'm a fan of, especially if the person lives alone. I think it's much easier to avoid witnesses trying to sneak into someone's house than just hopping out of a car and firing a guy up in the street, even if it's dark. Now, like I brought up with the waiter for Paulie's section, I'm certain Christopher left DNA on that rock, and we see him run off and leave it behind, so I'm gonna say there's a good chance he gets caught for this one. Also, I think he probably goes down for Dolan since, I mean, he's drunk in an apartment complex, probably hardly even remembers walking in, and who knows saw his face. Both JT Dolan and the waiter's murder were heat of the moment, non-sanctioned, stupid killings, and probably has a decent amount to do with Christopher's mental health and drug abuse. But every kill Chris did for the mob was actually really well carried out, and he was probably the best hitman if it weren't for the drugs and his myriad of other issues. All in all, I gave the top spot to Chrissy since I think he carries out his hits really well for the most part and is the most consistent. Tony B was shooting 100% when it came to law enforcement, but all of his hits were poorly thought out in the long term when it came to his mob associates. Like I said, Silvio might be my personal pick since his loyalty is unmatched. He is truly the strong silent type. And besides doing the work yourself, I would trust him most to keep his mouth shut and do it right. Tony and Paulie have high body counts overall, but they're too emotional and sloppy. The only reason Tony is higher is because he does a slightly better job thinking things through and covering his tracks, like, sometimes. Paulie's percentage was the worst, and his messy kills were the sloppiest out of anybody's messy kills on this whole list. Also, a lot of his kills were just so needlessly stupid. So that's all I have for you guys today. Hopefully this can start a good conversation in the comments. If you enjoy discussing TV shows and movies, I have a couple videos on Oz uploaded so far. I also plan on doing more internet history stuff like my Jesus Chatline video, but I'm hoping to move that over to a second channel and keep this one for TV, film, and other media related topics. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. There will definitely be more Sopranos videos coming. I'm working on 2 other scripts along with this one, so I'm definitely excited to finish those up. As always, I appreciate everybody watching, and I hope that you all have a blessed day.